Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our daily Bhagavad Gita sessions. Today we'll be discussing from chapter 1, verse 13 and 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Tata Shankascha Bhairyascha Padavanaka Gomukha Sahasaivaabhyahanyanta Sashabdastu Mulo Bhavat Tata Shankascha Bhairyascha Padavanaka Gomukha Sahasaivaabhyahanyanta Sashabdastu Mulo Bhavat Tatah Shankascha Bhairyascha Padavanaka Gomukha Sahasaivyabhyahanyanta Sashabdastu Mulo Bhavat. Word by word translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tataha, thereafter, Shankha, conch shells, Cha, also, Mheryaha, large drums, Cha, and Panava Anaka, small drums and kettle drums, Gomukha, horns, Sahasa, all of a sudden, Eva, certainly, Abhyahanta, were simultaneously sounded. Saha, that, Shabdaha, combined sound, Tumulaha, tumultuous, Abhavat, became. Perfect. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Verse 14. Tata shveter hayer yukte mahati syandane sthitau madhava pandavaschaiva दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदद्मतु ततः श्वेतेर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवा पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदद्मतुः तथा श्वेतेर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवा पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदद्मतुः ततः thereafter Shvete with white, Haye horses, Yukte being yoked, Mahati in a great, Syandane chariot, Sthitau situated, Madhavaha Krishna the husband of the goddess of fortune, Pandavaha Arjuna the son of Pandu, Cha also, Eva certainly, Divyau transcendental, Shankhau conch shells, Pradadmatu sounded. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. In contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Dev, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayastu Panduputranam Yesham Pakshya Janardana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there. Because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna, and this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Hare Krishna. So, in the last few verses, the last few sessions, we've been discussing the beginning of chapter 1, setting the scene of on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And we saw how Duryodhan was describing both the armies of the Pandavas and the Kauravas while he's speaking to his guru, Dronacharya. And suddenly, while he's speaking, Bhishmadev sounds his conch shell. And everybody becomes so eager to fight, especially Duryodhan, because now he feels that, oh, Bhishma is definitely on my side. So everyone gets very eager to fight. And last time, we also discussed what the blowing of the conch shell means. So on the scene of the battlefield, the blowing of the conch shell means the beginning of the war. It is to get everybody's spirits up. There are also many other reasons that conch shells are blown, and the main reason is to mark the auspicious beginning of a ceremony. Whenever we have arati in the temple, the conch shell is blown. It invites all the demigods to attend the arati ceremony. During the Abhishek ceremony of the Lord, we are also blowing conch shells. During the Jagannath Rath Yatra procession, we are also blowing conch shells throughout the procession to mark the fact that this is an auspicious ceremony. Okay? So, the Kshatriyas are always eager to fight. And the wars back in the days were fought in a very sporting spirit. Just how we see sports now, whether we're watching football or cricket, there is that sporting spirit. Similarly, the battles were fought in a very sporting spirit. And there were also rules to be abided by. For example, a warrior would only fight with an opponent of an equal strength. A warrior would only fight with an opponent who's carrying the same weapon. If the opponent is carrying a gada, he carries a gada. If it's a bow and arrow, bow and arrow. If there's no weapon, no weapon. So there were rules that were abided to follow. And our scriptures explain that there were only two outcomes from the battle. The first outcome is that you win the battle, and you go home with wealth and opulence, name, fame, prestige, power, all yours. Or as a fighter, you die on the battlefield and you attain the heavenly planets because you died while performing your duty. So there were two outcomes. Okay? So in this verse number 13, it is described that various instruments started blowing. Shankha, conch shells, large drums. There were small drums, there were kettle drums, there were horns and trumpets. All these instruments started blowing. It's like they're having a Vedic ceremony, right? When are all these instruments blown? When there's a Vedic celebration. So even the beginning of a war was treated as a Vedic celebration. Yeah? So moving on to verse number 14. This is actually the first verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna's name is mentioned. Duryodhana described both sides of the army. He mentioned Arjun, Bhim, Yudhan, Drishtaketu. He mentioned so many warriors on the side of the Pandavas, but he didn't mention Krishna. And Krishna is seated right there on the same chariot as Arjun. Did he not see him? So this is actually the first verse that mentions Krishna. And if we observe from verses 1 to verses 14, it's like the scene is moving. The scene began from Sanjay and Dhritarashtra. They're having a conversation. And then Sanjay starts describing what Duryodhana and Dronacharya are discussing. And then the scene moves on to Bhishma Dev blowing the conch shell. And now the scene is on the other side of the Pandavas. What are the Pandavas doing? Yeah? In the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra asked Sanjay, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, what did my sons do and the sons of Pandu do on the battlefield? So all this time, Sanjay has explained what the Kauravas did. Now he comes on the Pandava side. What did the Pandavas do? Okay, so the first verse, Tata Shveter Hayer Yukte Mahati Syandane Sthitau. So Lord Krishna and Arjun, they were seated on a great chariot drawn by white horses. And this chariot, as explained by Prabhupada, was gifted by Agni Dev. So there was once a time that a king performed yajna for 12 years. And for 12 years, he kept pouring ghee into the fire. So Agni Dev kept consuming ghee for such a long time that at the end of the yajna, he felt discomfort. So he went to the doctor of the demigods, the Ashwini Kumaras. So the Ashwini Kumaras said, on the earth planet, there is a forest called Khandavan, the Khandav forest. You can go and devour that forest. So Agnidev went and he started burning that forest. And whilst he was burning that forest, in that forest there was a snake called Takshak. And Takshak was a friend of Indra. So now to protect his friend, Indra started pouring rain. So Agnidev got confused. He's like, I was told to devour this forest. So where is the rain coming from? So when the demigods get confused, who do they go to? Brahmaji. So he went to Brahma. And Brahma said, you should approach Arjun and Krishna because they're there. So Agnidev goes to Arjun. And Arjun agrees that I will protect you while you devour the forest. And this was going to help the Pandavas because they wanted to build Indraprastha there. So he said, okay, devour the forest, you're helping me, I will help you and I will protect. So Arjun used his bow and arrows and he released so many arrows that it created a canopy over the forest that not even a single drop of rain could fall. So Agnidev could devour the whole forest and Takshak was chased away from there. And in return for this great service that was done by Arjun, Agnidev gifted him so many weapons, but the most glorified is the chariot. Prabhupada writes in the purport that the chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. It was a great chariot already in the sense that it's gifted by Agnidev. But what was even greater, that it could fit so many weapons as you can put in about 5-6 bull carts. You can put all those weapons in Arjun's chariot. That's how great it was. It was also very heavy. And what makes it even greater and even heavier is that the Lord of the three worlds is sitting on that chariot. The Lord of the three worlds is sitting on that chariot, which is so huge and heavy already. And what makes it even more great is on the flag of that chariot is Hanuman. Hanuman had given half his strength to Bhim and the other half of his strength was on Arjun's chariot. Imagine how great and how heavy that chariot must have been. Okay? So, Syandane sthitau, they are situated. Madhava Pandavaschaiva. Madhava is the husband of Madhavi. The goddess of fortune, another name of the goddess of fortune is Madhavi. Brahma sings in the Brahma Samhita, Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha, laksha vritesu surabhira pipalayantam, Lakshmi sahasra satasambhrama sevyamanam, Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Thousands of Lakshmi, millions of Lakshmi are engaged in the service of Krishna. So this husband of Madhavi, Madhava, is on the chariot with Arjun. So why is the word Madhava used? Because it indicates the relationship between Krishna and the goddess of fortune. Wherever Krishna goes, the goddess of fortune automatically follows. Nowadays we see people doing Lakshmi Puja. Lakshmi Devi is standing alone. So they're trying to please Lakshmi alone. But the secret is given here, that if you worship Vishnu, Lakshmi will follow. Lakshmi is known to be chanchal. She does not stay in one place, except at the lotus feet of Vishnu. So if you worship Vishnu, Lakshmi is right there. Okay? So here we see Arjuna was very connected to Krishna. So wherever there is Madhava, Madhavi is also there. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions this quote, Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yesham Pakshe Janardana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu, because Lord Krishna is personally associated with them. And Sanjaya confirms this in the last verse of the Gita. He says, Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara. Wherever there is Krishna, the Yogeshwara, master of all mystic power, and wherever there is Arjun, the supreme archer, Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Netir Matir Mama. There is sure to be opulence, victory, and power wherever there's Krishna and Arjun. Okay? So this Krishna, who is the source of the three worlds, the husband of the goddess of fortune, under whom Brahma and Shiva are working, what is he doing? He's become a chariot driver of Arjun. Yeah? So the next word is Divyo Shankho Pradad Madhu. So he's become a chariot driver, and what did he do? He blew his transcendental conch shell. So in the previous verse, in verse number 12, when Bhishma Dev blew his conch shell, Sanjay did not describe it as Divyo. He just said it was a conch shell, but it sounded like a roaring of a lion. But when Krishna blew his conch shell, he says it is a transcendental conch shell. This is because anything connected to Krishna is transcendental. All his names, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nij Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarane Nakala. Krishna has invested all his transcendental energies in all his names, whether you say Krishna, Govinda, Shama Sundar, they are all potent transcendentally. And there are no hard and fast rules for chanting Krishna's names. So all of Krishna's name, his rupa, his divine form, Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam. Brahma also says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha. So Krishna's form is also transcendental. His guna, his qualities are also transcendental. And his leela, his pastimes with his devotees are also transcendental. So Krishna is all auspicious and his devotees are also all auspicious. Yeah? So in relation to Krishna and his devotees, everything becomes transcendental. There's also an example of Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam when he was going to kidnap Rukmini. On his horses, he traveled over 1,000 kilometers overnight. How fast would the horses have gone? So even the horses are transcendental, right? So the conch shell, the chariot, the flag, everything, even his body is transcendental. But because he comes as a human being, people misunderstand him. Those who are less intelligent, the Buddhas, they think of Krishna as a normal human being, and they ignore his superhuman activities, right? They consider them to be a myth, like it's a story, like it never happened. It's not difficult for Krishna to lift a Govardhan hill if he's floating so many universes. He's floating so many universes on the Karana ocean. He's floating so many planets in these universes. then why is it difficult for Krishna to lift a Govardhan hill? Right? So, how Krishna creates so many universes, how he can have so many forms, how Krishna can marry 16,108 wives, how Krishna can have so many names, this is all inconceivable to us. But we can understand it through the process of bhakti. And the Bhagavad Gita and all the translation and the commentaries given by our acharyas help us to understand Krishna's inconceivable potencies. Yeah? Krishna says in the fourth chapter, Janma karma cha me divyam, how his birth and activities are all transcendental. If we surrender to a guru, we can understand this information. Yeah? And the best way to understand Krishna is through his own words. He reveals knowledge about himself because nobody knows Krishna better than him. So we must take it as it is. But the moment we try to speculate or add our own commentaries, we are adding our imperfections because our senses are imperfect. So if we add our own commentaries to what Krishna is saying, the knowledge also becomes imperfect. But if we take the knowledge as it is, given by Krishna and given by our bona fide guru, then this knowledge remains perfect. Okay? So to become perfect, we must follow perfect instructions from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And if we take it as it is, then there is no chance that we can be cheated. Yeah? So this verse describes that victory and fortune are awaiting Arjun. It's very clear from this verse. So from the next verse onwards, we will discuss all the different personalities that are blowing their conch shells. And each personality has a very unique name that describes their characteristic. So we'll continue that from tomorrow. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki